Awesome. Thanks, Karine, for joining us. Yeah, we'll just crack into the questions. So, I guess firstly, what inspired you to pursue a career in cybersecurity and how'd you get started?
Well, at that time, I've been working over 15 years in marketing, which anyway involved a lot of digital stuff. Especially when I started, there was literally at the beginning of the internet, right? I mean, websites, and so it evolved a lot in 15 years. And I guess I got bored in marketing and I didn't feel like I had a lot of purpose anymore. And anyway, I ended up with cancer. And when I survived miraculously,
Mm.
I decided that I had to change my career because I wanted something that suited better um, what I really wanted to achieve with my life, really. So I wanted to find more purpose, and I really wanted to pick my brain. I felt like I really need something that a bit more challenging. And I remember that I started looking at what other stuff that I like. And I remember I love, all these cop show and detective stuff, puzzles. And also I really wanted to know how hackers hack this weird internet. I mean, I kind of knew how it was working, but not so much in detail. Like, what was really all these connections and how it really works. So I thought, oh, that would be cool to learn that. And since I was on bonus life, I thought, I've got nothing to lose. I can literally learn. And my husband thought I was crazy. He thought, oh, that's only for people that are born with those skills, they're literally geniuses. I'm like, no, 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 you can learn anything. So I've just started looking at all the transferable skills that I had, and then I looked into how I could um, develop those skills. And to be honest, it was like a learning people advertisement that popped up at that moment that I just decided to fill up the thing, and then I talked for about an hour and a half with the guy that I had on the phone, and and I decided to jump in. I was like, yeah,
Awesome.
sign me, and I want to be going for cybersecurity. Let's do it.
The- Oh, that's so cool. What a cool story. Um, and then yeah, obviously you said you were speaking with us, but how would you say the, I guess, studies helped you transition into the industry?
Well, I had a Bachelor of Business already, so I really didn't want to go down the path of
Mhm.
going back to uni, spending 3 years in uni, and like dragging, and then with like 20 years old. I mean, at that time I was 38 already. I really didn't have time to waste. So, I guess I just, um, I just thought that those certifications would help me. And when I was looking at, different people on LinkedIn in IT, I realized that there was a big thing for certifications. So I thought maybe having those certifications will help me. And at least there was also hands-on training. It wasn't just watching video and, being a good student. It was also going through the practical labs and developing those hands-on skills on the keyboard, understanding, command line and all this kind of stuff. So I really like that learning people offer that as well, and they were really good at like preparing me for the certs. So I really enjoyed the platform. Really, I found it really good. Very short video that was really good because you don't want an hour long video where you're like, oh my god, we have to watch. I could watch sometime. I had two young kids at a time, right? So, I mean, I still got them; they're just a bit older. But you could just, if you had only half an hour, you could do it, right? So you could just pick what you needed. And I was writing a lot, like all the courses I was taking on, like when I was at business school anyway. So I'm a visual learner, so writing everything helped me a lot. Um, so yeah, no, I guess having the certs and the fact that I felt like I was a little bit practicing as well on these labs, um, really felt like I could do it then in the real life. It wasn't just theory. And it's funny you said that because when I well, I don't know if we move a bit too fast, but when I finally had my first job in cyber, I felt some resistance sometimes saying, yeah, I should just have certs, like other
Yeah.
people go through computer bachelor and all this stuff. And I could see some, not from the people that hire me, because obviously they hire me for a reason, but from like other people in the
Yeah.
company that could say, like they wouldn't say, but you could tell they would be a bit skeptical. And then it was fun to see over time how they realized that I actually had the skills and I wasn't just BS. It was real stuff. So, yeah, I think that was good.
Yeah, well, I guess that leads into the next question, which was, what was a challenge that you faced when you were, moving into tech and how you overcame it?
I guess I had some jobs that like I got really quickly a SOC role, but I didn't want to work, on a 24/7 shift. I was, at that stage I was 40 years old with two kids. I couldn't really, and cancer survivor. There's no way I was working through night shift because I didn't want to ruin my health. But I mean, somebody younger with no kids could do it. And that's a really good avenue because nobody wants us hours. And it's a really good learning curve being a SOC analyst. And they're a demand for it. So, and you can start literally with no experience. So that was my first thing. And I had to say no because of this reason. And then I got another role, which was because I'm French and that helps because there was at the time the submarine project in Adelaide, Australia, with the French, and they were looking for people for compliance, cybersecurity compliance for this project. Unfortunately, I understood now why they dragged their feet for so long because the project fell through, and
Ah.
obviously with it, my job. No resentment, but yeah, I mean, looking back now, I think it was just for the best. I ended up landing a job in recruitment
Oh,
in cybersecurity. So I always wanted to see what it was like to be a recruiter anyway. So I thought
yeah.
I will be able to use my marketing skills, my sales skills, and also develop my network. Plus, the beauty was to see what kind of job there was
Yeah.
because cybersecurity is massive. Literally, there's jobs like so many jobs in cybersecurity. It's ridiculous. So like you've got the SOC, just within the blue team, there's a lot of jobs. You've got, SOC analysts, you've got threat intel like I am now. You've got engineers role. You need to do the front end, the back end, and people are doing the firewall rules, all this stuff. And then you've got the pen testing, which is more like red teaming. You've got purple teaming as well, which is a mix in between the two. You've got learning as well. You can definitely do training and stuff like that. So anyway, there's a long list of jobs. So being a recruiter for a year really helped me understand because I was talking to so many people with so many different jobs, even to the CISO role, right? Like literally the leader of the cybersecurity department. And it was really good because I really got an understanding of the industries, like, what's the difference being a SOC, like not so much SOC, but like security engineer in or security specialist in like a bank or professional services or, retail, insurance, like all these different uh,
Yeah.
different type of companies. Uh, Critical infrastructure as well need cybersecurity people, and it's a bit more specialized, but it's also um, a very good. There's also different roles there that are pretty interesting. So I love it.
Yeah.
But I knew it wasn't what I was wanting to do forever. But it was good at the time because that's where, well, in Australia at the time we had the Optus Act, the Medibank
Mm.
Act, and people starting freaking out. Uh,
Yeah.
and that was good for me because
Definitely
I was
good.
like, well, they need more people, and I'm ready to jump out. And I'm a woman too, which is
Yeah.
unfortunately there's a positive discrimination to harm
Yeah.
women.
Yeah, for sure.
So I thought this is my chance. And
Yeah.
there was a cyber threat intel role at Deloitte advertised. I didn't use my network for that role, and I just applied, and um, I got the job.
That's
They
amazing.
loved
Yeah.
that I was an author, and that I actually wrote my story when I survived my cancer. So I literally wrote my life on paper. So they thought
Wow.
she can probably write long reports, no
Yeah,
problem.
definitely.
Uh, and then, yeah, with the training that I had, it was really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a no-brainer for them, and they were happy to get me on
Yeah.
board. And I was hired like to start the next month. So that was
Wow.
good.
Yeah. That's amazing. I feel like the technical background as well in recruitment, obviously it's not the same thing, but it would have helped so much with, because like you say, it's so broad and like half of the recruiters are probably looking at it like I have no idea what these roles are doing. So it would have helped
Yeah,
so
and that's
much.
so
Yeah.
right. Like they
Yeah.
actually, that's the reason why actually two recruitment company reached out to me. I didn't look for that role. They
Mm,
reached out to me and they're like, "Hey, do you want to be a recruiter?" And the reason why is because it's really hard for recruitment firms to have people that understand what they're talking about in
mm.
cyber. There are a few. I'm not saying anything. There are a few in the industry that know who knows what they're talking about, but it was really refreshing to have candidates on the phone, and even companies looking to recruit. They were like, "Oh, awesome. We don't have to re-explain everything. We can
Yeah.
talk freely without thinking they're not going to get what I'm talking about." And I think, yeah, companies like candidate were pretty happy to have someone that can talk the same language. Um, and yeah, that was, yeah,
Yeah.
that was really helpful for everyone.
Definitely.
It is hard when even now I see sometimes recruiter reaching out to me and giving me jobs that are got nothing to do with my skills. Like,
Yeah.
hey, would you be interested in that? Like,
You're like, that's not, yeah. It's hard because you want to be really specialized, but when you're trying to learn all of these different roles on the technical side, it can be
yeah.
challenging. So yeah, that would have helped big time. Um, I guess yeah, you sort of again touched on it before, but what would you say your experience has been as a woman in a traditionally male-dominated industry?
Well, I didn't really see it because at Deloitte we have a lot of women, and
Oh,
in my
great.
team, yeah, and in my team, there is a lot of women. Just in my team, I think we same number of like this smaller team, the extended team. Maybe there's a bit more male, but in my team, I think we literally is 50-50, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And Deloitte is always trying to, all about inclusivity. I have to say, I talk for myself. I'm not talking from my
Of
employer
course.
here.
Yeah.
My views are my view only, not those of my employer. Just to be precise. But
Yeah.
in general, they like try to really be inclusive, and it's part of the culture. So they always try to have the same number of male and female. And so I didn't really see that, even though yeah, I found that male actually, um, once you kind of prove yourself, they still value, like they value. It's
Yeah.
just that the first, I guess, when you start, and when I started, like I mentioned earlier, a few guys were like, nah, whatever. It's good to have a woman, yeah, numbers. But then I don't think they were really confident about my um, capabilities, I guess. And it's just over time when they saw me coming with ideas and like actually doing my job, and they were like, "Oh, actually, she's quite valuable."
Yeah.
So that, yeah, I guess it's But I talked to a lot of women in security, and one of them that I met in recruitment really worked with in male environment, like where there's lots of guys.
Mm.
And I know that it wasn't always easy. I know that pretty much she would say you need to be tough, otherwise they don't you've got no credibility. Like you need
Yeah.
to be um And I guess that's hard, not being able to really be yourself just because you have to
Mm,
be in a male-dominated environment. That's kind of daunting, but there are more and more women in security.
yeah,
Hopefully, there's going to be more. And I keep trying to tell my daughter to come in tech.
yeah,
I think it's about education as well. Not only like people young. It needs to start at school.
mm,
That's what I mean.
definitely. Yeah,
Because it's at school that in high school they start picking the curriculum, what they want to do later. It needs to start there. When I was in high school, the boys in my family are engineers. It didn't even occur to me that I could be an engineer growing
no,
up. Like it didn't, because it was for boys. Like all the boys were engineers, the moms, and they were admin or
yeah,
and I never had the idea. And even at school, you would go in like the tech programs, they would be for boys. Like you would have one girl and it would be the tomboy, um, so it wasn't, I think it wasn't the norm, and it wasn't really democratized. I feel like everyone was happy to continue the same way, leave it for boys.
mm,
And I think things are changing, thankfully. And that's great, because I think women and men are very compatible in a way that they see things in different perspective, and together they can make great things. And if you stuck to just men or just
mm,
women, you will have only one side of the coin. You won't see the whole. Innovation is about sharing ideas and developing stuff together. If it's only guys or only girls that do that, you will miss some bits that are probably important. So I think it's about including tech in the curriculum of the younger generation, the younger girls, and tell them, hey, this is something you can do too. It's not boys reserved. You can do tech.
mm,
It's not that. And there's a lot of the stigma is that tech is too technical,
yeah,
but you can have job in tech that aren't that technical. So you can be salesperson in tech
yeah,
as well. You can end up doing a cybersecurity course and then figure out, actually, I love sales. Why not going into cybersecurity software sales? That's helpful. You need training as
yeah,
well. And yeah, so it's not just it's a full it's an industry now. It's
yeah.
not just a defense thing,
Yeah,
It
100%. That's what's so cool about it. There really is something for everyone, regardless of what your personality is. And like you say, I think it's so important to have, females, males, we all think so differently. And, it's just bringing more, education, knowledge, ideas to the table, which is always going to be of value to businesses. So it's definitely cool that that's changing a bit these days.
yeah.
Would you say you've faced any other bias or obstacles in your career? And I guess how did you navigate that?
And no, I mean, like I said, that it's been from the moment I got hired as
Yeah.
cyber threat intel analysts at Deloitte, which is pretty much the only. I mean, if you think about it, it's the only role I had for the last 2 years now. Yeah, we're going 2 years. Um, I didn't really, and it's my job not to be biased. So my teams, they kind of tend not to be biased because they know we can't.
Yeah.
So we work really hard on our biases as threat intel analysts, especially. So we really try to stick with the facts, you know,
Yeah.
what we know. So no, not really. But like I said, it depends on where you land. It really, and that's why I think what's important is, I mean, once you've done your studies and your training, really have an understanding of where you want to go, and also which company you want to go. Don't apply to everything. You need to really have a good idea of what is the company culture, what are the values, what are the teams, what's the setup first, because for me I work full-time online, Like
Yeah.
I'm rarely in the office. I'm usually at home, and all my team is across the globe. So I work different time zone, work with the US and Europe and India and a lot of different parts of the world. And so you need to understand really what you want for like your different things for the value the company's got, but also what kind of setup you want to work in. And you need to set that up before you even apply, because you really need to stick to those. It would be so easy to just say, oh, you know what, I've got a job, I'm going to take it. I was so tempted when I did some kind of this role. And then I really thought, no, these are the values that I can't do that. I can't do it for my kids. I'm going to be miserable, and then if I'm miserable, I will hate it. And then I will regret what
Yeah.
I've done. So really, it's important to identify what are your skills, but what you can provide, but really understand what is the need for the company to put this job out there. What is it they're looking for? What is it that they're giving to you? What they're providing in terms of support, and if it's in the office, not in the office. Like I said, the values are really important. I've worked in many companies in my life, since I was in France as well. And I really like the company culture in this
Cool.
company. Um, and I did accept jobs in the past where you think the company is so good on paper, and then you end up with like the micromanaging manager, and then you start hating what you're doing. And so really, it's really easy to have an interview as well with a recruiter and really ask all these questions up front, because they will see, oh, that's somebody that knows what they want. That's
Yeah.
good. You're not going to accept anything. You're going to really dig. And you can ask questions without feeling like you're not for the role. You can say, hey, I really would like to learn about the team. Where are they located? What's the hours? What's the typical day look like? What are you going to work on? What are your current projects for the next, 3 months to a year? What do you see your company being in the long term? What do you see this role evolving in the short term, in the long term? All these questions are really good to ask, and they showcase that you're interested, but also that at least you enter the company knowing what's going to be like. Not like, I just got the first job I got and that was it. I'm not sure what I'm going to what I've signed up for. I think that's important, so you don't get those. And talking to the people that are recruiting me, they were happy that I was a mom. They had we really had a good conversation about the normal stuff,
Yeah.
and I love transparency, and they've been very transparent. And so yeah, you can feel that also. But I think the important thing is knowing yourself
Yeah.
as well, and what you stand for, and what the values you stand by. I think that's important.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, you're there 40 hours a week. It's so important to make sure it does fit with your life and how you want to live it. And I do think that in tech there is so much flexibility, like, working
Yeah.
from home, all the different things. So it's important to figure that out for sure. What advice would you give women wanting to have a career in cybersecurity?
I think. Oh, I had many people. It's funny because I've got many people, because I see with learning
Yeah.
people, and like I did my studies with learning people, and so I've got all these people in general contacting me for LinkedIn and saying, "Hey, I see that you've done learning people. What do you think?" and stuff. And I had lots of people asking me that, like asking me about cyber in general. And I've got people in the industry sending me people that are looking to get into cybersecurity, because I don't know, because I don't mind helping, I guess. But I say, and I heard some stuff, I heard some people saying, oh, I want to come because it pays good money, right? I want to come because it's good like you can work from home all the time. All this. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't validate this. but it shouldn't be the reason why you sign up for. I think for me, it came really from a curious way of like, hey, how the hackers doing? I'm really genuinely interested in like how they do that. I want to learn that. I want to be in the computer and being able to remote access another system and plant a malware or something, like just in the lab, not, but just to see how it works, and so that drove me through the studies. And if people are actually working while they're studying, it might be a lot of hours at the end of the day, because I did that when I wasn't working. I was caring for my 2 kids while they were going at school. I was studying, so between 9 and 3. And during COVID, I was studying only in the afternoons because I was doing the class in the morning. So, and it was still 1.5 years that I spent, because I really wanted to get learn everything, really integrate everything well, and pass all my certs first go, right? So you need to be driven. So if you don't have a purpose, it's going to be really hard. So I think the first thing I would say is find your why you want to do that yourself, for you. Find a good reason, not the stuff that can change, because working from home can change. Your salary can change. Anything can change. But the reason why you want to be part of this won't change. I am still generally interested in how the attackers do it. I love reading reports on what's the new technique they came up with, what's the latest malware, how do they, all this stuff that make my job. This is it. I love researching, and that's what I do on a day-to-day. I read a lot of material, and if I didn't want to know about these attackers and how they do that, I'll be exhausted at the end of the day. Whereas I'm energized in general. I'm energized at the end of the day. I'm like, yeah, sweet. I've done this. Tomorrow's going to do that. And I'm genuinely energized by what I'm doing, because I know I'm making a difference, and understanding those guys help me defend my company. But if you don't have that, it's going to be really hard, because there's still a fair bit of technicality if you come fresh from, like me. I had to learn from scratch. So you really need to be driven. You need to have this goal somewhere, saying you're gonna make a difference, or you're gonna discover new ways that these guys are, new creative ways, and with AI and stuff. Now it's like, so if you're not interested in like tech, digital, if you don't want to be inquisitive, if you're not curious, if you don't want to learn every day, don't do that. If you want to, if you're curious and you like to learn every day something new, go for it. The good thing about this industry is that nobody look at you weirdly if you don't know the answer, because most of people don't know the answer. Everybody's figuring it out. Yeah, in IT, that's the beauty about IT. I found that they're really cool. They don't wear uniforms all the time, which I love, because when I was in marketing, I had to dress up all the time, even though I dress a little bit today. But usually I'm not dressed up. I can wear jeans. And that's one of the reasons I joined as well as IT, because I thought they're the cool guys. I want to hang with them. I'm done with all these Swiss people, though. But yeah, you need to find your a better reason. Yes, all this stuff can happen, but it can't be, because you're gonna do that job for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Right? In 20 years, you don't know. Probably, I don't know where we're gonna work.
Yeah.
So
true.
You don't know how much you're gonna earn. Your circumstances may have changed. But if you've got a driving force, you will continue doing it. So yeah, I guess
that's great advice.
what I would say.
Yeah, no, it's so true. I think having that why, just like you say, everything can change, but that's something you'll always have. So no, that's great advice. Would you say that there's been any female role models along the way that have kind of inspired you, or that you've taken advice from?
There, there was two women when I was a recruiter. I obviously was looking for future candidate
Hmm.
and future company like recruiting or anyway, I was prospecting. And I came across this profile of a French woman that actually changed career as well. And she changed career probably a bit younger than me, but she was like 5 years in security and already in leadership roles. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And I want to talk to that girl. And that's in the late night, I remember, because she wasn't available till late. And I stayed in the office to call her. And we talked for probably an hour and a half. And we had so many similarities. And she's like, oh, you should, go and get a job in cyber. Yeah, I'm sure you'll be great. And since I mean, now I could hopefully say we're friends. But she's in leadership, and she's done really well for herself, I'd say, in a very short period of
Wow.
time. And she's a bit of a mentor. And when I got that role, I had another role. Like I had
Ah,
two roles when I got the offer from Deloitte. I'd also another offer. In 2 weeks, I had two offers. And I asked her advice, and she's like, "Oh, Fragile, that's perfect for you." And
cool.
yeah, she's always been very supportive, and we catch up every now and then. And there was another woman as well. That she's also French, but she's French Canadian. Big from another country helps when you're in Australia
Yeah,
because you can reach
definitely.
out to and you've got a double community. You've got the cybersecurity community, you've got the French community. But then when they're both in, that's pretty cool. So I do tend to reach out to French women in cybersecurity
Yeah,
because it's kind of
of
my
course.
thing. And this woman is also in leadership, and she's managing a full cybersecurity team for one of these unicorn company, and she's really good as well. And
Cool.
she's been a good support, and we definitely need to catch up as well. It's been a while, but yeah, they probably if they ever
Yeah.
watch this video, they probably recognize themselves. But I think it's important for anyone who wants to come into that community, because I really feel like cybersecurity is a community.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd say in Australia at least, but I think it's a bit the same everywhere, because I did talk to a few people from other countries when I was a recruiter that wanted to come in Australia. So I think it's pretty much a really nice, cool community of people.
For sure.
Um, and I think for anyone who wants to join this community, that could be their why. I want to be part of a cool community. Well,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Always good to have good people
But for
around.
anyone who want to do that, I would say go on LinkedIn, create
Mm.
a nice profile for yourself, and reach out to people. Um, Not saying just I want to connect. Just explain, hey, I saw your profile, and look at them profile, right? I saw your profile, like jobs that you might be interested in, or you've got no idea what they're about, but just say, hey, I want to, if you have like 15 to 30 minutes to chat, I would love to understand what's your role, what it takes to be you in your day to day. And if you had any advice, for me, because I'd like to be part of this community, I'd like to be a cybersecurity professional. Uh, Usually people are pretty happy to give a bit of their time. Don't waste it though, because if you're on the call and you just talk about yourself, that won't be good. But if you have genuine questions that you prepare, and you let them speak about what they're doing and really understand what they're doing, ask questions and be interactive, that's great. And that would reflect well on you as well. So that will help anyway building your network.
Mm.
And the more you talk to different people, like a SOC analyst, a pen tester, uh, security engineer, a CISO, a GRC consultant, you can really have a better understanding of what are the different jobs and where maybe you see yourself. And I'd say if they change career like I did, the good thing is also to, I guess, check the transferable skills they've got. So really kind of sit with yourself with a piece of paper and write down the transferable skills you've got from your previous role, because that's critical.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to be able to really sell yourself. I know my previous role is helping me every day,
Yeah.
because when it comes to PowerPoint,
I can
identity,
do it. Yeah.
all this stuff, I used to do that in my previous job. So that was seamless, right?
Okay.
Talking to different audience. I have to talk to people that are at the tactical level, like, SOC analysts, and I talk also to the CISOs and people we're going to talk to the board. So I can't really speak the same language to those people. This also helped me. So if you ever think that there's a big stretch, I'm sure you will find transferable skills
Yeah.
hidden somewhere. You just need to make sure that you know them, because that's the best way you're going to sell yourself in an interview.
Yeah. And it's how you differentiate yourself as well, like from other people. Yeah, that's so true. What is your role as a senior cyber threat intelligence analyst at Deloitte entail, like day to day?
So, see, it's funny because I didn't see many of those when I was a
Yeah.
recruiter. Literally, it's not really what you recruit for in general. But I talked to one in a year. And that's pretty much why I got into that role, because when I talked to that guy as a recruiter and I asked him all these questions about what it was that what I entail, I didn't really know because he was the only one I talked to. So he explained to me and I was like, that's cool.
Cool. Yeah.
So I'll tell you what it is. What it is, inside, it's funny because I feel like threat intel is a bit of the marketing of cybersecurity, in the way that in my previous role in marketing, if no one else in the company was doing the job, it was for marketing, right? So I feel like it's a bit the same. Usually threat intel kind of is in liaise with many teams in cybersecurity, and they have to have a really good understanding of what's happening in all the other teams and what's happening everywhere in general. They kind of like the little radar. So my role entails to kind of understand what is the global threat landscape. So like the external threat landscape, right? What's happening out there. So what threat actors is doing, what are in the news. And I listen to a lot of podcasts as well to understand what's going on, on a daily basis, just to have a really good awareness, because you build that awareness. It doesn't happen and just, you need to do that regularly to really kind of have a feel for it. So I analyzing the external threat landscape, understanding who are the threat actors, what are the techniques, what kind of tools they're using, what are the kill chain, like what are the TTPs they're using, and what are the, what kind of victims they've got, all this type of stuff. And then you analyze the, I guess, the internal landscape. So what is it happening in your company? What do you see that is coming? So for people that don't know about cybersecurity, like I didn't, you would think nothing's happening unless it's in the news, but it's not wrong. Like, it's actually wrong. In every company across the globe, every day, there's attackers coming into the network or trying to come into the network and do bad things. So that's why SOC analysts are there for. That's why you've got monitoring and detection tools to help companies identify those threats and remediate and contain remediate the threats. And those alerts that are managed by SOC analysts in general come to threat intel as well, and we're aware of what's going on as well. And we take a step back when an analyst is right into the incident and need to answer quickly. Threat intel usually comes kind of a step, not after the fact, but like in
Yeah.
parallel. And we help with identifying the threat, understanding the intrusion, understanding what happened. And later down the track, when you see patterns of activity, you can also create cluster of events and try to attribute that to some threat actors. So that's also part of my role. And I guess the other one is a lot of reporting. So
Mhm.
what we do is we report regularly to different audiences throughout the company on the external landscape, the internal landscape, and we also have to. So that's proper reports, and the audience are varied. Usually, like I said, it's from tactical, operational, and strategic level. So from like the analyst all the way to the CISO. And then we do a lot of research. So we try to be proactive in understanding what's going on. If we see that there's threats coming, well, we identify those and we read a lot of reports. We dig the internet and we
Mhm.
look for information on what is the threat, how it could affect us or not, and how we can be proactive in mitigating those threats.
Cool.
So
Wow.
overall, it's cool because there's a
Yeah.
lot, and
Mm,
it not one day is dull, you know.
no. Yeah. Such a cool role.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And a lot to it as well. So, no, that's awesome. What would you say is the biggest security threats to businesses like typically face today?
Well, I guess it depends on the industry, but in
Mhm.
general, if I have to be very general, I would say likely ransomware is a typical threat, especially now that there's more law enforcement um, trying to take down those ransomware. You can see that when they taken down, you cut one head, then there's 10 that comes out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks like the landscape is becoming, I guess, more difficult for attribution. There's a lot of affiliates to ransomware that could be like one threat actor could be affiliate of multiple ransomware. So it's really harder to attribute anything these days. But I'd say ransomware is probably number one for companies, but also info stealers. So information stealers is information stealing malware, which are everywhere.
Yeah.
I've always thought that, you click on something, you're gonna get an info stealer. Like pretty much what initial access brokers do. So most of ransomware attack nowadays starts with the purchase of initial access from an initial access broker. Those criminals literally just try to deploy info stealers on anything, really, mostly through phishing. But it can be smishing, it can, yeah, usually social engineering. But it can also be also like vulnerability exploit and stuff, but in general, phishing. And so an info stealer will just grab whatever they can of PII on your computer, and then credentials, especially from the browser, from the uh, your computer machine, from anywhere you've been on the web, your crypto. If you've got any crypto, that's the worst. Like you lucky to get that, you can probably get stolen as well. But yeah, I think that's we can see there's a big increase on info stealers, so that will continue likely to increase. And then I think also the complexity of the networks nowadays, with the cloud, the on premises, and I guess the bigger the company, the more complex the environment. And when you see that this very complex environment, I feel like it's getting really hard to make sure you cover all your bases.
Mhm.
So that's also something that I think it's hard. And I think the hardest is for like small businesses and medium businesses that it must be really hard when they don't have the resources to cope with the acceleration of the threat and the sophistication, and especially with Gen AI that allows threat actors to become more sophisticated very quickly because they don't have to know nothing and they can ask ChatGPT to write the malware and write an attack and create deep fake and social engineer very easily with all those free tools, or not free but not that expensive. So yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how things going to evolve over the next few years, because especially because of Gen AI and
Yeah.
the capability that the capability that it brings.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, that was going to be the next question. Just how do you see the cybersecurity industry evolving over the next 5 years?
Well, I think Gen AI is going to play a really important role, whether it's for cyber defense or on a criminal aspect as well, because there's a lot of and now that the DeepSeek um, that's got an open source, but that's going to be fun to watch what's going to happen. Yeah, I think there's a lot that might happen, and what I see is really an acceleration of the sophistication from actors that shouldn't be that sophisticated from the get-go. And yeah, I think Gen AI is going to be a must watch. There's also quantum computing that we need to keep an eye on, because I mean, I don't know if you want me to enter in details, but I think that quantum computing is also doing, and there's a lot of investment, not as much as in AI, but there's a lot of investment especially from governments, because when the first quantum computer really will have the quantum advantage, they'll be able to break any encryption on the web, right?
Wow.
And that's anything, your bank account, I mean, nation state secrets, and so there's this sort of a race for who's going to get that. And the thing is, we need to kind of adapt the cryptographic system algorithm now, or start now, because the implementation is going to take 5 years to 10 years. So we need to start now to cover that risk. But I'm not sure anyone is really ready. And, I'm not sure it's a priority either, because there's so much to kind of tackle, right? It's like the environment, we try,
Yeah.
but then there's always a crisis popping up, and then you're like, oh, well, we did keep that for later. And then the threat is right there, and you're going to have to do something. But yeah, I think it's going to be fun to watch and participate. I think it's a good time to be in cybersecurity. There's very interesting challenges, and like I said, I think if you're curious, you're gonna find that pretty exciting to work in this industries over the next 10 years. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. We sort of touched on this a bit earlier, but what are some practical steps somebody could take to get into cyber without having that prior experience?
So no prior experience, like no career change or nothing, like just coming out of
Yeah, just
young,
kind of coming
young
out of
you.
a
Are you
and
first? You're young, so that's the beauty. You're young. So if you can do
yeah,
it, stay.
or maybe some some experience or none,
No,
but yeah,
I'd say
what?
that. Well, I think there's two things. So I'd say if they were a career changer, like I was,
Yeah.
I think I did cover that part. I think the idea is
Yeah.
really understand you and your transferable skills, get the learning done, get, obviously your motivation. But then it's really about setting yourself and your experience already in the business, like in different businesses, but it's still valuable experience. Don't put yourself down because you're older. That's it. Because you've got other skills that the youth doesn't have.
Yeah.
They may not know how to write an email and talk to a CISO. Whereas you don't care, you're older, so you got the same age, you can talk to the people like that. You're not scared. So that's good and bad in both, right? I think if you're younger and you want to start your career in cybersecurity, I think the same advice, like try to talk to people so you understand the roles you're going to apply for.
Mhm.
Because also as a recruiter, I saw so many people, you can tell they throw a CV every time they see an ad. It's so frustrating. You're like, you know what? I don't want this guy. This guy is banned because this guy doesn't know what he wants. He's going to be
Yeah.
a pain to deal with
Mhm.
because he doesn't know what he wants. So he's going to say whatever you want just to get the job. And then he's not going to know, So I think it's really critical for anyone, anyway, in any kind of job, to really understand what you're going for and what's the spectrum of your roles. You can't say, I want to be a pen tester and then say you apply for a GRC consultant role, because no. And if a recruiter sees that or a company sees that, they're going to know you're not serious or you don't know what you want or you apply to everything. So really pick what you apply for, but apply well. So talk to the people when you see a role that you're interested in. Don't jump straight away. Make sure you talk to different people that have that role so you understand the role and what it takes to be that person, because then it's going to be your job. And also maybe contact the company ahead or try to find on LinkedIn. It's very easy to find people that are part of that company, and maybe go and talk to the recruiter in that company and say, hey, can you tell me a bit more about the role before I apply?
Yeah.
That's good. If they don't have time, worst case, they already saw your name, so they might actually check your resume later. So I think those steps are likely not taken because people say, oh, I can't do that, because they don't have time, because they apply everywhere. But if you really target the job, and even if you pick an ad, it doesn't matter. If you target that role and then you really go for that role, just try to apply well. So write a proper cover letter, review your resume. So actually what you write in it match what the job is about, right?
Yeah.
And all these little things matter because, I think too often people just fish, they put the bait in there, waiting for anything that bigger. Now I've got an interview.
I know.
And then if you get an interview, prepare for the interview.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, it's hugely quality over quantity. We say that to people in career services all the time. Like the value of networking and actually following up from your applications is so hugely important. And because so many people miss that step, if you do it well, you're going to stand out well. But yeah, it is hugely important. Yeah.
And then I think try to develop a bit of a brand, right? I didn't have really that before, but I mean, I did when I was a recruiter. I had to develop my branding for being a recruiter. So I was a lot on LinkedIn, right? And I don't think it really helped me finding that job specifically. But talking to people in the industry, being regularly on LinkedIn, posting stuff, and really having catch up also with other people, like I said, not just for understanding their role, but just to also try to be part of catch-ups, meetups, like and there's Australian Women in Security network, AWSN, which have chapters in every city of Australia. They're really good for starters because usually they've got meetups with plenty of newbies in the industry with other people. I usually attend those events. So you can really kind of have a in-person. And usually people come and say, hey, tell me about your role, and all the stuff that I tell you to do on LinkedIn, they do it face-to-face. This is even better because then you're a bit more involved, engaged, And then, there's also, there's also meetups, but like Australian Women in Security Network is pretty good because it's really good for newbies.
Cool. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, try to develop a brand and talk to people. And even though it might, don't count on that to get you the job, it will be really good for your mood.
Yeah.
Like the support, the moral
Yeah.
system,
And the community,
the
like you were saying, it's just about that community. And some people find it, I think, a lot easier going to something in person than trying to network on the internet because it can be quite daunting. And I think it's just speaking to people and kind of putting that brand out there is so important. Um, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give yourself at the start of this journey?
well, I had my doubts when I like even before signing up, after I talked to the sales rep for like an hour and a half, I wasn't for sure. Then I talked to career service for another hour. And I was really hesitant. And then my husband was like, "Oh, it's a lot of money." And then I think if I had one of us, I would just say, "Don't hesitate." I would say, because you're gonna get where you want it to go. And yeah, I would just say that. Sometimes you just need to take that leap of faith. I mean, I think that it's easy for me because I literally was about to die. And then when I didn't die, um, I really took life like everybody should take life like.
Yeah, that's
Everybody
amazing.
should take life like you've got only one, because guess what? You've got only one. So
Yeah,
whether or not you realize that, that's on you.
yeah,
Um, Somewhere I would say I was lucky enough to have cancer to realize that I should have done that. Like I should have taken opportunities in my life without thinking about what other people think for me, or what society wants you to think it should be. Or, you should live your life based on how you're not going to regret those days, how you're going to really live by who you want to be. I'm not saying who you are, because I wasn't that person yet. I didn't have the knowledge or anything, but I really wanted to be that guy, the understanding attacker. Um, yeah, that guy, the cool guy with the hoodie. I didn't want to have heels anymore, and I, yeah, I think if you see that life is, you've got, yeah, like it's the title of my book. We only live once. Just start realizing that. Don't waste your time. Just think that every day is a bonus already. Because yeah, so if you're curious about anything, jump on it. Like there's no better time than now to do it,
yeah.
right? Don't wait. I think it's you don't know what tomorrow's made of. So
So true.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Awesome. Last question. How important is continuous learning in the field? And how do you stay up to date with new technologies?
I think it's very important. Um, yeah, I really, yeah, that's why certifications are so highly seen in IT. It's because certs don't last forever; they last for years, and then you have to renew your certs, or get new certs to renew the old one, which is what I've done. But um, I think the thing is, technology is evolving so fast.
Mhm.
You really need to keep ahead of what's going on. You can't just sit and say, "Oh, I'm gonna figure out next year," right? Um, it's just you have to do it like continuously.
Mhm.
You can't wait. Like, yeah, you have to do it regularly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna be very outdated very quickly. And yeah, especially like when you look at AI and like the speed at which we everything is evolving. Like it's nearly every week there's a new thing, right?
Yeah.
If you don't keep up, even if you wait, I'd say 6 months, you're gonna be have so much to catch up on. That's why, but you don't need, the thing is, it can't, don't see that as daunting. If you can just do it, it's like everything, a little
Yeah.
bit every day, right? A little bit every day. What I do is I listen to like cybersecurity headlines podcast every day. It's like 7 minutes. Literally, I can do it driving my car or drinking my coffee, and that gives me all the headlines that I can't miss out, right? I'm lucky in my job that it's my job to literally keep up with what's going on. So it's my job to read every day on news, new reports, strategic report on threat actors, like all this type of stuff. So I'm lucky enough that it's part of my hours
Yeah.
at work that I need to kind of keep up. But you would see that in IT, a lot of companies train their people and they pay for training. And it's literally sometimes weeks they pay for just for you to train and keep up. And they
Yeah.
want, that's also a question you need to ask in an interview. Do you have a training budget? What are the training I'm going to do next year? Usually companies try to train you every year. I do training every year. I can literally pick the training. And I've recently done a training on enterprise class incident response and forensics. And I'm really grateful my company paid for it. But it's, yeah, you need to do this. Yeah,
Yeah.
you need to
Yeah.
keep up.
I guess it's just, yeah, the nature of tech, but no, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that, Karine. It was great speaking with you.